My name is Mark Kogi, Chapel Romanov Technologies. We're here on September 8th, Wednesday, 9 o'clock for training on the sound system for what's the name of this room?
Ag Arena.
Ag Arena. So I know it is the arena room.
I know.
All right. And so I'm just kind of giving you a flyover, and then we'll go as deep as you guys want to go. The good thing is the system's not that complicated. We have to go too deep.
Right.
But I do want to cover some things about how the room's set up, how you use it, but also, and I think more importantly, what are the potential issues that users may run into and how to address those. The system has audio and video capability, and you can either use those together, as in projector mode, or if they just want to turn on the mics and not drop the screen down, they can just hit use microphones, and it will just turn it on. And so let me give you the flyover from an equipment standpoint. There's 2 channels of wireless microphones, but there are 4 available to you. So you can have either 2 handhelds, 2 belt packs, or a combination thereof between the 2. And there's dock chargers for all 4 of those. They're labeled 1 and 2. We typically use the receiver to scan for open frequencies. From time to time, the FCC changes regulations and people buy new stuff and it shows up in the facility and all of a sudden you're just getting interference. You can come back over here and you can scan for another frequency, and I'll show you that on the end here, how to change channels on these guys. And when you do that, you have to make sure you pair them, and there's a little infrared device here that pairs them up pretty quickly, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second, in a little bit. There is on the video component wise, we have a wall mounted projector. It's projecting onto a screen, and you'll see here in a minute, there is a disparity between the native resolution of that projector and the native resolution of this screen. But the screen matches all the sources you're going to typically use. And this is a 16 by 9 screen. Most laptops are 16 by 9. From time to time, you'll have somebody with a laptop that's 16 by 10. So we'll just have to change the resolution on that to match that screen. And I'll show you what that looks like here. And that's the onboard PC that you all provided. So I'm checking one other major component. Speakers throughout the place. I don't remember where they are.
Just 4.
They're over 4 over here over the bleacher area. I had forgotten that when I started. Equipment-wise, I think somewhere in the future there might be a different rack forthcoming or podium. So it's temporary
like a
place.
year and a half away.
Yeah, that's fine. So this is all the stuff. I mean, we got a switcher that switches the video sources. This guy right here is the brain. It's the one that delivers this view, and it tells all the other devices what to do. This is the 2-channel wireless mic receiver. I point out these antennas back here. In its final state, we'll have to address this, but right now, these are diversity antennas, and that means if I do them like this mic will only communicate with one or the other, not both. And it has a polarity, if you will. So in this orientation, it's going to get a very poor signal. So it's designed to be diverse, so we can put these at 90 degrees to each other. So no matter how I hold this mic, it's going to get to the stronger of the 2 antenna signals. The reality is, these are half-wave antennas. They can catch them across the room. It's not that big.
Oh, okay.
It's not that critical.
Not a big room.
But I do want to point that out, because as we get into other spaces and we start doing other training, we're going to have bigger, like I think in one of the rooms, the antennas are on either side of the stage, and we got to put them at 90 degrees. But that's just general antenna knowledge. The last piece here is the audio processor. So all of the audio goes into here and comes out and goes to the amplifier. And so when we're doing things like using the microphone, all these volume controls are actually communicating with this guy right here.
Okay.
And at this point, I'm going to point out that, generally speaking, if there are power issues in the facility or something gets unplugged or just from time to time, we typically see the first point where something breaks down, and it happened this morning when I came in. these audio processors sometimes lose communication with the brains. And how will you know that? If you come in here and start touching buttons and the screens change, the control system's probably working. If I hit a power button and the screen drops, we know it's working. When we know this is not working is when I'm touching these buttons and nothing's moving on there. So this actually sends a signal to the audio processor and waits for feedback to change the screen. So if I'm doing this and nothing's moving, you can probably bet if you reboot that, it'll come back online. I had to do that this morning.
And you'd recycle it back.
And I just pulled the power plug and plugged it back in there. But that's, you know, in AV systems, that's usually second place. First place, operator error and end user devices. And I had that problem this morning as well. My computer wasn't set right. So I'm going to say from time to time, I'm sure you've had this experience, maybe you haven't, but in AV systems, 9 times out of 10, somebody will come in 10 minutes after somebody did and use it successfully, and the next person comes in. This system's not working, and they throw their hands up. Well, usually it's they haven't set their audio, and I'll show you how to do that on a computer. You got to set your devices right. You know, you got to send the video out the right way, and you got to make sure the audio is going where it's supposed to go, and some app on their device isn't working. That's usually what happens. So far so good. Any questions or anything? Okay. I did find an error on here that we will get corrected, but I have to show you the use, what it's designed for, and I'll tell you why it's not working. If you hit shut down, now I'm in audio mode only, so I'm going to shut it down and go back to video mode. We give you, are you a sure screen? Are you sure you want to shut this room down? And you can say yes, and then it'll shut everything down. Or you can say return.
Return's not working.
And it's not returning. So I got to talk to a programmer. That's a little tweak. But that's a safe, fail-safe. If you accidentally hit system shut off, you can hit return. In here, it's not working. I show you that on audio, so we don't have to wait for the screen to go up and down. You heard the clicks of the relays. Yeah. All right. So more than likely, you're going to use the projector and everything. So it sends a command to the screen to drop it. It sends the power on to the projector to turn it on, and it opens up the audio. Check 1, 2, so the audio is working. So let's talk about audio. Well, the first screen you're going to get is your sources screen. So you choose between the PC, the laptop, which in time would be a plug-in, so you'll have to come around this way, and then the document camera, which without real estate is just sitting back here on the cart. You're going to have your volume controls available, and I distinguish between video volume and mic volume. So video volume is any video source that you're playing separate from the microphone, so I can still mute the mics and listen to the music off of the PC. If I want to go to individual volume control, I still have my master, but I also have now individual volume control. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. This is mic number 1, so I can go to full volume, but I can mute individual and have the other one working. Check 1, 2. So I have individual volume and mute control. Check if this is muted. Like that. Check. Okay.
And then this just works as a master over both of those then?
Correct. Yep. Yep. I'm going to shut these down. If I'm in the middle of doing this and I want to have individual power control, let's say I don't want to raise the screen, but maybe I'm taking lunch, I can go ahead and shut off the projector. Well, I say that, no, it's not going that way. I could put the screen up individually. I'll have to ask our programmer about that one. Logic says tie the screen with the projector power. So I would have to say, what's the use case of wanting to drop the screen or raise the screen independent of the projector? Yeah. But he's got that control there. I'm going to wait for this thing to fire up and then show you what I was talking about earlier about the aspect ratio. Once it gets to the blue screen. Any minute now. There we go. So you'll see there's blue casting over the top and bottom of the screen, which is fine and expected because that's 16 by 10,
Right.
but all our sources are 16 by 9. So once we go to the PC, and I get this PC to wake up, you'll see it should be perfectly cropped to fill the screen once it comes up. Come on, there we go. So it,
Oh, that's good.
yeah. All right, so let's get my laptop going here. We have, again, in the future, when there's a plate, it'll be different, but right now, cable. There we go. So there's an end to this labeled laptop. Laptop. I'm going to log in here because I'm going to show you a couple things that your users will have to be aware of, and this will be true of any space or room in the building. So I got this dual security. All right. So you'll probably be better seeing this up on the right. I'm going to show you on the bottom right, all your users will need to be aware of when they choose their audio sources. Because they're sending audio out of the video, they'll want to choose the output device as being Crestron. That's the video system. Because we're going to send audio to the video system, and that's how it's a little counterintuitive to send audio out to the video, but that's where it's going on that HDMI cable.
Right.
As opposed to sometimes they'll come in here and hook up and they can't figure out why it's going into, you know, they'll pick speakers and then they'll play their music. It's only coming off my laptop.
Yeah, we run into that all the time, so.
Yeah. Again, it's a failure of the system, but it's a user issue. So you just go back in there. And iTunes is having an issue. Yeah, I'm doing it again. I can't even get mine set. Yeah. See, I'm having a user issue. I can't tell when iTunes how to get my audio out into the.
I don't even know where it is.
I can't remember where it is either. I have to relaunch it every time because I don't remember. So there's settings somewhere in iTunes I couldn't find, but that's an example. I'm doing it live and you see user error. So I got it. Yeah. All right, those are all the high-level use cases there for the system. Any questions?
Is there any lights we should know about?
What's that?
Any lights on the boxes that would trigger us to look at something?
Not typically, no. I mean, the big one is if you're touching this and nothing's responding, you know,
Bottom box.
if nothing responds on this, then I would just reboot this guy right here. And you can't go wrong rebooting the whole rack. The only thing I'd be weary of is, and this will be more critical, we see in a lot of the bigger sound systems. This is the amplifier for those speakers up there. What I would typically do is say, well, you know what, let's just power this off first, So no matter what I do, I won't get that electronic pop and destroy speakers. Spring Valley Academy in Centerville, a private school, I trained them how to turn the system on and did the exact opposite for a year and a half. And I replaced hundreds of dollars of tweeters in their line array speakers. I've said that for years, it'll do that. I've never actually seen it, and it did. So you can destroy speakers if you don't do that. So then you can just, power cycle, sequence this, plug it in the wall, and then,
But that's really only if you're doing all of it.
yeah, just to be safe. So
But
you
the
don't.
bottom box shouldn't have it.
What's that again?
The bottom box that we reset, that doesn't have anything.
No, it's just if these things make an electronic pop, and actually it would do that if I did this, if I unplugged this right now, it would go. Yeah.
Now that we have this out on the table, not in the cabinet, I'm sure some of our teachers are going to be adjusting this over here, touching it, trying to tune it up and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I
The
know.
things, so amplifiers, these are all the way up.
Oh, I was just going to ask that. Perfect.
So
That means that they can't
and it's a little counterintuitive, but a volume knob on an amplifier is not really volume the way we think of it. You're telling the amp how much input before I get full power. All that amp is available all the time. And we've just said, let's make it more sensitive so we can send a smaller signal and get more volume out of it.
Perfect. Then you just know you put it turn it all the way up.
Yeah,
You
So
get
if you can't hear it, make
Super.
sure they're up.
Okay.
All right, so let me show you let me stop this, how to pair up a microphone. Just, you may forget this in time, that's okay, no big deal, but I'm gonna show you how it's done. So let's say we wanna change both mic number 1 and mic number 1 here. I don't know if we can move this and get around here. If you, I'll go on this side, you guys go on this side, how's that? So this is channel 1, or this is mic 1, and this is mic 2, RX, receiver 1, receiver 2. So we're going to do 1. I just set the other one down. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn this guy on and this guy on. Now, I will point out that these are now on the same frequency, and it's not going to work because they're fighting for frequencies. If I turn one of them off, check, it'll work now. But I want to put these on a different channel because I'm starting to get interference. So I'm going to go to select here, and yeah, I got interference because they're both on, I know. Sorry. And I'm going to hit scan. I'm going to scan for another frequency. And I'm going to do enter. It's going to scan. Go. Scan to continue. So it's going to go out and look for an available frequency. Scan to complete. It's done. Enter. Now it's going to say sync the transmitter now. All I have to do is, there's a sync button on channel 1. I didn't do it in time. If you look on the front of this thing, there's a little infrared receiver. And right here, there's a little infrared transmitter. Let's go over here and hit sync. Done. It's pretty simple. Make sure this guy's on. Sync. Success. And now they're both reassigned to a new channel. But they're still labeled mic number 1. And they both connect to that one. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you want to get fancy, you can actually type in some names on there. But not really necessary. Make sure they're off when they're in the charger. I think that's really, and I can go show you what all these little devices do, but no, I don't want to deal with that now.
I'll be hid away anyway. Once Should we put all this stuff away for right now?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Wouldn't be a bad
We'll
idea.
probably put it in my closet. And then,
Yeah, as long as you have track of it, I think I'm assuming we've already done official turnover of loose items, I don't, at this point, but.
yeah, and we'll put the remote in there too so people don't screw it in.
Yep,
Yeah, I had it all in the bag. The only other thing is this dock cam,
Oh, okay.
which there's no room for it up
We'll
there.
put that away too.